you want to save money on your trading card purchases, we have a promo link over at 50cards.shop. Enter the promo code ATNIGHT to get 5% off your order.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to V to Premium Transitions, the show where we take a deck in V Premium, show you how to turn it into a premium deck without too much hassle. I'm Atlas from Nexus at Night, and I'm here with Kai. How are you, man?
Hey, Atlas, how's it going? We rarely collab, you know, the time difference.
Yeah, so we're doing Kagero today, which is to say Overlord the clan. You couldn't really do Blade Master or Eugene.
At one point in time, we might have, but not now. You know,
Yeah.
not now. Everyone knows what Overlord's all about. I mean, Kagero. So.
All right, so let's take a look here. So what do we got for the V version of the deck? How does this work?
I think if you've been playing Overlord for a while, or Kagero for a while, you would probably just know this deck in V, for example. This idea hasn't changed at all. The only thing that might have changed is you add like a rebirth to the deck. This is one of the newer additions. I don't really think it's that new anymore because it's V, but it's one of the newer additions to the deck where it's like kind of your end game, right? You first go into the end, but then like usually you run out of the end or at some point where you get a lot of damage. This is just kind of like a better finisher. So that's just rebirth pretty much. But the rest of the deck, if you look at it, is just the same thing. So same plan.
Cannon.
Yeah. Cross, go into the end, do your combos, get some Calamity Tile Wyverns, pump up your power to a lot, and then force to and kill your opponent as soon as possible, right? And I think the only thing that people will talk about is going, why are you not running like 16 crits, right? Because I'm personally, I'm not a fan of a 16 crit or like even 12 crit, right? I still like the draws, big fan of the draws, but I don't even run that many draws. It's like 2 draws, right? So it's around 10 crits, but if you're a V player, change it. I always tell people trigger lineup is usually up to you. It's very rare that you say you have to run this kind of trigger ratio unless it's something like Sanctuary Guard Dragon from way back. Change the trigger ratio, whatever you want, but the rest of the deck, the core of it, I think by now, if you're not sure how this deck works, then you can. Where have you been for the last X years?
And for people who are watching this being like, if he's not going to talk about them, the deck logs are both in the description. So if you want to take a closer look at what each of the cards do, please be my guest. Because unfortunately, this has just been a Kagero problem for almost as long as it's been a clan, is that they don't really give them any good or interesting rear guards. They just kind of like, all right, we retired something.
Pretty much. They either retire something or they support Dragonic Overlord. So that either like searches for us or, like Igni Road. Wow, this card is so good. Why is it so good? Well, whenever the cross restands, it gets more power. And then it searches for the cross. So, wow, that's no wonder this card is so good, right?
Yeah.
So it's pretty much that is the identity of Kagero is like literally split between Overlord and Blade Master. And then, Blade Master right now. Not the best.
Not doing so hot. And I know after the history collection, it didn't really get that's not enough.
Yeah,
I don't think.
Yeah, like Blade Master, the base in premium is not like it's even the first stride, for example, it's just like on hit retire. Like, bro, like on hit retire, we need on hit multi attack. That's where everything is, right?
If you want to see something more unique, I can't remember if I posted it on the channel. If not, I will at some point. I did Eugene in premium because they have the guide that restands your Vanguard, so you can do that twice.
Yep.
So that's an intense copia, but that's about as unique as Kagero is going to get.
Yeah, Eugene premium, funnily enough, was like a thing when when you had like the Nazarals and all that. You go, wow, I can discard their entire hand, best harvest, whoa! But that's kind of more of a fun deck. Let's talk about something more serious, right? So luckily for everyone trying to transition into premium from V, playing Overlord, right, has a very, very good transition option, and that is you just play Overlord. You just play Overlord.
Continue on like normal. That's
the scary thing about this deck is that it is still potent. I think a lot of people really haven't researched into Overlord much, or Kagero much, into premium, because premium and like V to some extent, last few formats have just been dominated by GC. Let's not mince words. GC very strong, Highlander very strong, but So in terms of like the other stuff floating around the metagame, not many people have really researched much, but there has been like some kind of builds of Overlord popping up in the last few like few months, like randomly. I know someone topped with Singapore. There was a VGCS where this deck was pretty much like nearly the same list as the Singapore one. So the core for like the Overlord deck in Premium has been like, you know, tested a bit, and it's shown some results at least, right? At least like, you know, Premium Singapore, major results, Springfest, for example. So
yeah,
there has been some showing from it, and I think a lot of people just really don't know what Overlord is about in Premium right now, because they still think old Overlord is just the cross from V, and then you just keep on doing it, right?
Well, because like we're about to enter this massive paradigm shift. At the time of recording this is 2 weeks before History Collection comes out in the West. So following that, I think things like Gears will be fine, but like your Thavises, your things like that, where the main thing was the ride down. Ride down isn't really much of a like gotcha anymore. Yeah, people have the option to just go, all right, you're riding down to 2, ride alt mile, stride, go into Gobblade or whatever your thing is.
Yeah.
So everybody is going to be either doing that or doing something in spite of that, and Overlord appears to be the latter. Yeah.
Overlord, you're just doing the same thing, because guess what? Overlord is just that good. But I think one of this deck that we have here is actually ready for History Collection. So you see this, you know, Janat. Wow, it's the old Janat. But guess what? Hopefully in 2 weeks it just auto updates the new Janat, right?
Because like you can use the old copies of that.
Yes,
an errata, so you can get their legal still.
Yeah, so we got the heal trigger as well, and then we also have the Harmonics Messiah. So it's ready to go. It's ready to go. If you want to copy the same deck, it's pretty much there. Yeah. The main difference with, I think, Dragonic Overlord in Premium versus in V is that you mainly go Force 1 in this versus Force 2.
I see.
Yeah, because if you're a new Premium player, right, and you've been playing V a lot, you know, in V it's very easy to just go, right? You go, okay, I just want to kill you first grade 3 ride, or do as much damage as I can, because everyone's defensive options is pretty much the same, right? It's very rare that people have different defensive options across all the clans, but it's pretty much just like a heal guardian and you know, bigger shields, right? And
that's something I didn't consider, like the different defensive options, how that might be new or something.
Yep. It's easier to map out if they don't have a heal guard and you're going first. You like just kind of win. Right? Have a Calamity Tower, you kind of win, right? You just do a lot of damage. But in Premium, the defensive options are much more like significant and impactful, and every clan has different kind of defensive options. So the idea of just like riding up and just killing your opponent is a bit rarer, right? They'll likely have more ways to just like defend, you know, even things like Rolocks. They still have heal guards. And then, you know, if they went first, then they'll have their access to G guards. They'll just ride up. And then also they will likely, like good players or better players, they will kind of like, they know how to control damage. So that's one of the ways to kind of keep Overlord at bay, is to play like a longer game, and then just limit the amount of like damage it can do to you, right? But with that said, right, the idea of just riding up and going straight into like a Force 2 and just like one-shotting your opponent really doesn't exist. But luckily for Overlord, right, you have a decently mid/long game opportunity with that early game still there, where the new way of playing this deck is actually to go into the Rebirth, right? So you have 3 copies of Rebirth, it's 3 copies of Rebirth, but you also have 2 more copies of the Cross, which basically functions as a Rebirth, right? It's like, so let's say you have 5 copies of Rebirth. But what you want to do with Rebirth is you just want to damage increase yourself as much as possible, where we're running a lot of damage increases. So we have the 2 and the 1. So Vulcan, Breath of Demise Vulcan, and then Breath of Origin Rollamandry. These are like kind of old cards now, but what they do is, you know, you place them, you kind of put a top card of your deck into the damage zone face up, and then at the end of turn you put them back into the deck. But you hit yourself up to like 4 and 5, ideally 5, and then you ride for it. When you ride this, you go Force 1, and then you just do multi-attacks. You get a decent hand. You lock 5 cards. You have to call like 5 cards basically, and you lock your whole field. You do 3 attacks, and then you kind of progress from there. Because you also run the old Dragonic over the Cross, which is like your Legion. And it's like an old mechanic.
Okay,
learn everything now.
Legion. Okay, for people who are newer, Legion was a mechanic that Bushiroad abandoned within like what two sets and
Yeah,
a side set or
pretty
something.
much.
Which is if you're both players are at grade 3, you can in your main phase put 4 cards from your drop zone back into your deck. Search your deck for the card listed at the top there in Legion, which is they both occupy the Vanguard circle at the same time.
Yep.
Yeah.
And they both get like the powers are added up. So with the cross, you combo with the end, and he's 13k, so they become like 24k. Remember how the end, when it restands, it loses a drive? Well, that card loses a drive, but he's not the Vanguard. It's like the main Vanguard, right? So you actually don't lose any drive checks. So you kind of still do like 3 twin driving attacks, which is the same power output as like a rebirth, but at the added plus of like putting like 4 crits back into the deck. That's kind of like you have like a longer game. And the funny thing about like Legion with like Force 1 is that you double dip on the Force power because you have 2 Vanguards. They both get plus 10k, so they hit bigger.
Really? That's crazy. So the goal is to you ride X or rebirths or whatever, and then you ride the original X from back then later. Yeah. Okay.
And like it's pretty easy to do because the deck runs 4 Conros, and if you all don't know what Conro does, this solves all your issues. It basically lets you switch any grade 3 card with like an Overlord card. So you go, I have the wrong Overlord in my hand. Let me switch that out to the correct one that I want next turn. And then guess what? If this deck does use a lot of counterblast, well, this guy, you can just retire him and give your Vanguard the ability when it attacks, you countercharge too. So you actually don't have any counterblast issues with the deck. The main resource like problem you'll have is maybe Soul, but you just use it properly. Just plan out your turn.
Just be careful.
Not that hard. Yeah, be careful with it. But that's kind of like the idea, right? First, you go into a form of the rebirth. You call down like 5 cards. Ideally, you call down a bunch of damage increases to increase yourself to like 4 or 5. Then you lock them. You do your 3 attacks. Then mid-late game, you either go into another rebirth or you just go into not that one. You go into the cross, the older cross, and Legion up, and then just do 3 more attacks. Put back a bunch of triggers, like maybe an over trigger, and then you restand and go. Good times. The thing is also that you can basically throw out a lot of cards. So you just with these damage increases, every turn just hit yourself to 5. Make sure you're at 5. Because whenever you trigger a heal on your 6 drive checks that you do, right, you basically gain, save yourself a damage in a way. Because you heal, and then at the end of the turn, you put a damage back into the deck. Whoa, you just went down, a lot of damage again, right?
Well, because the way it works is that effect is all done in that instant. So even if you lock these guys, or they get an Algriffin or whatever, the effect has already been activated. So at the end of your turn, you still take a card from your damage zone, shuffle it back in.
And pro tip, you don't have to put the same card back, just put back your triggers. Anything that's a trigger, just put it back into the deck, and it's pretty good. You just compress your deck to the point where there's a lot of triggers, and you restand so much, your Vanguard's just going to be very annoying. Even though you're on Force 1 and you're dealing 1 damage, every time you trigger, you're likely triggering a crit because you're running 11 crits. This is one of the premium formats decks where I really like running high amounts of crit there. You're dealing more damage times like the amount of attacks you do, right?
So I have 2 more questions. The first one is, first I noticed you're running the overdress PG, which that tends to be a thing. Why not Sanctitude? Is there a reason?
So here's the thing. If you on the off chance that you ride the cross, right? The number of cards in your hand is regarded as 0, so it's always a free PG. And also, Sanctitude is still good, right? If you're starting a premium, get your Sanctitudes. Make sure to get that.
Yeah.
But because we have the idea of we're going to the rebirth and we want to call 5 cards down and lock 5, Dumjit also becomes very good because when your Vanguard gets attacked, you can move it to the Guardian Circle and get a PG off that. So it's not like you're wasting PGs, right? Unless it gets retired somehow by your opponent. But you're not wasting PGs, so you can just kind of call down Dumjit still, lock them, and then still have kind of defensive power from the Dumjit, while not allowing you to do the multi attacks. And also, I guess the other thing is just the Dragon Tree Wretch. It's
interesting.
Don't use the first effect. You don't need that marker, right? Just use the second one. Second one is just when your opponent's Regard gets retired, you can Soul Blast in the main phase, Soul Blast 1 and look at the top 5 cards of your deck, and you get a grade 1 or less unit card. And that basically means get one of your damage increase. Or you can get Conros if you need countercharge, or just get another body, for example, so it's easier to just lock 5 and go into the rebirth skill.
Yeah. Well, Torrid Cannon along with the X thing that'll always get you a draw.
These two and
then
6 cards to retire pretty much. But you don't even run that many Dragon Tree Wretches. If you really don't want to have these, you can always like play around with the numbers, like get rid of these Dragon Tree Wretches. The main thing is just getting like the damage increases for this deck. It's just they're kind of old cards, but they're common cards. Yeah, they're common cards.
Go ask your friend to like the Vanguard Boomer friend at your locals to like go diving in there. I'm sure someone will find it.
Yeah, pretty much. Like, if anyone's trying to scalp you for these cards as well, trying to charge you a lot of money, just go somewhere else, right?
Tell them to suck a lemon. Yeah,
that's right. That's right. Like, they're commons. Like a lot of they're from BT11, by the way. So yeah, just to help everyone out there, BT11. Go ask your friends for commons. I found like a huge bunch in my like bulk pile somewhere. It was great, right? It's great. So. Yeah, get those. Those are probably just the things you need now. Kagero isn't like the top meta dog deck right now, right? So there's no justification for it to be very, very expensive either. So
I know I made the Eugene Premium with like what's his face, the restander.
The grade 1, yeah.
No, the Stride, Ziegenberg.
Dungeon. Right?
Like counting Ziegenberg and everything, this entire deck, $40.
Nice.
Like, that's how cheap Kagero is as a clan, I think.
Yeah.
Conroe is another thing where you're not running the V starter. You want that grade 1 search.
Yeah, you want a grade 1 search equals this dude, right? Rolamandry, damage increaser. Just helps you out, helps you get that in situations and just searches for anything else, like any grade 1 that you need can help out with that, or even a grade 0. Right, if you need like a random heal, you can get that too.
That particular heal, yeah.
Grade 1 or less. Grade 1 or less. Yes. Kagero. Also, the one reason I'm running this one heal is it just does help with soul. It got updated, so it's like 15k shield, 10k power, and it just gives you some extra options. Right, just play it, G-guard with it, and then you get either a soul or counter charge. Likely a soul, and then just like the new crits, you can run 11 crits now because the new crits, even though you're not a blade master, it just when you get damage, when this card gets damaged, you get to draw a card. So it's like a pseudo draw in a way.
Yeah,
but not
like
really.
I still run that in Locks and Great Nature, even though I don't have like the big belly name. It's still nice to be able to go, all right, it's half a draw trick.
If you really want to be able to use this off, it's not wrong to because your stride deck is very, very like free in a way. You can run like one card named Dragonic Blade Match, like Dragonic Blade
Titan or whatever. Yeah,
and then you can just kind of soul it if you really want to. But apart from that, it's like it's mainly there for it's a crit plus it can draw at some point.
So let's look at the G zone here. What's going on?
Okay, so as a premium Overlord player, right, your G zone is very how do you say? You only care about the green cards. Which is good. Which is good because if you're transitioning from V, the shinier cards are probably like the green cards. Like, wow, I can do things in my opponent's battle phase. That's very slick, right? And if you're playing, if you're a new player, Kagero has like a really, really, how do you say, a good crutch for you, and that is the good old Denial Griffin, right? If you read the effects, you might be going, wow, this card is super OP, and it's really good. Like, it's really good, especially against players who aren't too used to premium, right? It just basically says, when you place this, right? Counterblast one, retire them, get rid of the problem. Get rid of the problem. Don't worry about it. You don't have to worry about it anymore. Unless they have resist, then
then you get a problem. But
then you got a problem, right? Man, this basically solves a lot of your issues. Opponent has a really strong card that multi-attacks on the rear guard. Well, just get rid of it. Just see you later, right? And that's why we run like 3 of it. But this is basically your go-to rear guard when you're your G guard when you're against a deck that has a really problematic rear guard. Just play this. Just play this and get rid of the issue. The other G zone cards that I run is you have the new one from Premium Collection. Yeah, Premium Collection. This one is like a PG, except the cost is very, very high, but the cost gets decreased for each of your opponent's open rearguard circles. So ideally, you're like retiring them, and then you can use this to kind of get a PG off, right?
Yeah, or even just like Excel clans or clans where like I don't know, a lot of clans just don't put stuff in the back row.
Yeah,
like,
it's they think they're playing against Kagero, right? And like Kagero equals retire is what they're thinking, but that's wrong. Kagero is restand. It's like yeah, but if they're like if they're trying to control the amount of rear guards they they put down, then this one just becomes like a free PG, except with Soul Blast 1 PG, right? Which is it's okay. It's good at it's one of those like very rare situations with desperate situations, right? You really need to PG something. You have an option for it, right? It's there for you. Yeah. And then the other one, I actually like this one the most. Absalam.
Love him.
This one is Counterblast 1, and when you place it, when your Vanguard is attacked by your opponent's Vanguard, you Counterblast 1, which is pretty much like a non-existent cost in Overlord. Counterblast 1 is like whatever, right? Pop a Chondro, countercharge.
Yeah.
And then it gets 10k shield for each of your opponent's open rearguard circles. So if your opponent if they decide not to boost, for example, which is very, very common, right? I don't want to lose too many cards for no reason. Well, just boom, plus 30k or something.
Yeah,
and
plus,
then
plus 20, plus 10. I mean, it kind of sucks that it's only Vanguard to Vanguard. I feel like it would have been a lot better if it was just from anywhere, but whatever. You already have Denial Griffin. What more could you ask for?
That's right. Like technically this card got nerfed because, Over Triggers came out, but it's still good. It's the one thing that Kagero lacks is just like an efficient big shield, right? Because you have Denial Griffin to get rid of your rearguard issues, but if they have resist, suddenly you don't have anything with big shield anymore, right? You just don't have it. So, and if you look at a lot of these like G guards, they're all just 15k shield, except for Buddy Absalam, right? Which gets big, and it's just like a 1-card big shield is pretty much what you want, So that's why I'm running two of Absalam, and then lastly we have just the defeat flare, which will kind of just retire your opponent's back rearguards. Yeah, but
which can come in handy in a lot of stuff, and it doesn't target, so any resist things.
Yes, and the most other important thing is that you put back 2 grade 3 Overlords back into the deck. So you're always gonna have those situations where like, hey, I want to do something next turn, right? But I don't have anything left. I've used all my resources. I've drawn all my Overlords in my hand. It's like a real issue, right? Well, you can just put 2 of them back. Like that's why we have the Tord Cannon. That's why we have the Burnout. All of them are just there to put back stuff when things go wrong. This card, the same thing.
Because now a lot of clans are getting like these like pseudo Amber clones again. All those promos, right? So like there might be a non-zero amount of clans that need that booster that could randomly nerf them in the middle of the battle phase.
And just retiring 3 in the back feels good.
Definitely
feels good. The rest of the G zone is like pretty much there, just as like very rare niche options, right? So let's talk about the first one. We'll go in order, right? We got Barakat. This guy, just if your opponent has nothing and like you have like 0 damage, for example, like you have a 0 damage and it just doesn't feel good enough to throw down like a bunch of cards and do like 1 restand, just go into this, right? Just go into this. You get a bunch of drives. You get like a crit. Very nice, and you guys become big. Very, very niche situation though. Same thing with Dumjid Flare. This is like a restander as well, but it's just doesn't require much CB and just nice restander.
Well, because you also don't have to discard anything. Like if you're handless, that's probably a good thing for that.
Yep. The Zambos Dragon, if you have no CB, your opponent decided to commit a big field, then you get like a
Gold Paladin. It's for Gold Paladin.
Yeah. So like there's kind of a trend here, right? It's like, man, if I got damage denied a lot, hey, guess what? You have these options that don't require CB. And lastly, we have the Purge. This one is like much more interesting in a way, right? Where you go, it's again no CB required, but you can put something into Soul, which is pretty good. You have to put an Overlord in Soul though. You have to ping a damage, and then you negate that effect, right? So if you negate an Overtree, you're just feeling like the best. You're feeling like the best. You're playing against OTT. They're doing some weird shenanigans. Look at top card and leaving it there. Whoa. This can kind of solve that problem.
I'll make you regret that decision.
That's exactly right. And then the GB3, you get like an extra drive for the drive is equal to the amount of cards your opponent's damaging. So the ideal situation is like, they have 5 damage, you have like 5 drives, right? And with that much drives, hopefully you trigger like the over trigger, so then you can restand and get 5 drives. And it's like, whoa, yeah, the best. But yeah, this one actually has a few more things that you know, compared to the others, which are like, you know, if you're CB denied and this happens, then you can go to this. But this one's like, if you're CB denied and you have like a bunch of different factors, like maybe this, like your last, you just need hand, right? Maybe the out to like you not dying is to like get 5 drives and then trigger the OT to get like a big hand. There's actually like more situations where this might come up. But again, if you don't know what to do, just restand with your Vanguard. Like, go back to your grade 3's output are already really insane. Harmonix Messiah, I think this is there's like. If you can memorize every single effect of the Harmonix Messiah, then huge kudos to you. Right?
The only thing you really need to remember is that big shield at the start of the game.
20k shield. 20k shield. Also, you do get out of like damage deny situations where like your opponent is continuously damage denying, which does kind of come up when against something like OTT. They go, I'm gonna keep you at 0 damage and just like get a bunch of crits and then you die, right? Or just like one shot you. This will help you get out of those situations, and then it's easier to do because it either has to be face up in the G zone or it needs to be on the Vanguard circle, right? So usually you waste a turn riding this new Harmonix Messiah, but you know your Overlord has different ways to just flip up a card from the G zone, and then your next turn is pretty much set. So you can kind of get out of those damage deny situations.
Yeah. You also have heal guardians for that same thing. This
is for those extreme damage deny situations, you know. And then lastly, we have Drachma. Very rare come up. You actually, if you can't afford a Drachma, you don't even need to get it.
Yeah. Right? This is like a disclaimer I have on all these. The Zeroth dragons and the Progenitor dragons are not super needed. If you're trying to like do a budget version, skip it. It's not worth the trouble. The only deck that like absolutely needs them is
Pale Moon.
No, not even.
Oh no, you need it for the dust is just an important finisher, but like
I guess so. I just did the Harry version in.
Oh yeah, if you go in Harry, premium. Different idea. Right.
Yeah. No, I'm more meant for Gize. Because it's
100%.
Literally part of the thing. But
yeah. But I'd even say if you're a budget guy, right? If you're going, man, how do I even hyper budget this deck? Throw every single red card here. You don't even need them.
Yeah, just do G guards and have a small G zone.
yes. I've even seen players who go to locals. Are like, I built this new Kagero deck. Well, what's your G zone? Well, I have 3 cards in the G zone. They're all Denal Griffins. Like, I guess that works. Like the main powerhouse from this deck is still back in the grade 3 slots, and it just does the good old Kagero stuff. We just restand, good old Overlord stuff. They're pretty much the same now. Just restand, and just go for it, right? I think the best part about if you're transitioning from V to P as an Overlord player is you have the comfort of knowing you have the same cards that you were playing before, right? You're very comfortable with the cards you're playing, but you get to explore how to do different things like damage deny, right? Damage denying your opponent, right? If you run so many crits, you're drive checking so much. Do I really need to like, just put crit to Vanguard here, or like I can kind of split it around if I need to, in those situations where I'm not on the rebirth, right? And then also just like watch how opponents react to you, right? Because against a weaker player, they might be going, oh, I'll just give you free damage, and you get to play your game very, very well. But then against like the better players, you have to find different ways to kind of get out of the situations they present to you. And if you have a very comfortable deck with a bunch of different kind of like easy crutches for you at the beginning, like later on you can develop different strategies. Go, oh, this is where Kagero was strong. I need to work on this part when I'm like developing my game plan when I'm playing like maybe another clan, for example.
This might be like one of the decks with like the most similar strategy, because like whether the like deck list differed or not, most of the time these videos involve like everything changes when the Fire Nation attacks, or in this case the literal Fire Nation. So I think this is probably one of the easier ones to transition on, because not a lot changes on like a gameplay perspective.
It's the idea is very, very similar. It lets you focus on the other parts of premium, because everyone talks about how premium is like very, very hard. There's so many things to like think about. Well, why not take out one part of it, which is like the deck and gameplay portion, get something you're very, very comfortable on, and then you can focus on the different things that are going on in premium, and that's like a different or easier way for like a lot of players to learn.
So if you liked, if you were picking up what we were putting down, leave a like, leave a comment. I'll have a link to your channel, Kai, in the description. Where can people find and follow you?
I'm WCC on YouTube. I'm Transgraham on Twitter, and then should be like WCC or We're Cardfight Consulting on Facebook. But no one uses Facebook nowadays, right?
Yeah,
so
I know.
Just Twitter, YouTube, and yeah, just make sure to subscribe to the channel as well, and give a like, thumbs up, get that thing going.
Well, thanks everybody for watching, and we'll see you next time.